This is the number one reason you're giving up Japanese. And this is the number one reason you're giving up Japanese. And this is the number one reason. And this is also the number one reason. Just because something is considered to be the best or most efficient way of learning doesn't mean you have to do it if it isn't working for you. It isn't for me, and not understanding that made me quit learning twice before. So, quick story time. How many of you started learning because you wanted to be able to watch anime without subtitles? That was me in high school. One summer vacation, I was rewatching all of Naruto up to that point, and I wanted to be able to watch it without subtitles. So I decided that I would learn Japanese. I figured it would only take me 3 months, and by the end of the summer vacation, I would be fluent. That was the first mistake I made. I set an unrealistic expectation for myself, and there was no way I could achieve it. And when I still couldn't understand anything by the end of the summer, I was disappointed and gave up learning Japanese. The second mistake I made that summer was how I was studying. I looked up a PDF of some book to help me learn Japanese, and it was downright awful. It was so boring to me, and I had no fun learning. I looked at it as learning as a chore instead of something that I wanted to do. It's really not hard to see why I failed in high school, but my second time, well, that's a bit of a different story. The second time I gave up learning was in my senior year of college. I had moved into an apartment with some of my friends' friends, and one night we were just talking and having a good time, and one of his friends started talking about how learning in Japan was. He had studied over there for a year and learned the language to a good degree. We talked for hours about his experiences, and it really reignited my passion. Not just to learn Japanese, but to learn more about the culture. So I did what anyone does when they get into a new topic. I searched for it on YouTube. I stayed up till 3 a.m. watching every Abroad in Japan video I could find. I was hooked, and in one of Chris's videos, he talked about a tool called Anki. I had never heard of it before, and I thought that this was going to be the thing that was going to finally make me able to learn Japanese. So I downloaded the app to my phone and found the core 2K, 6K deck and started to go through it. I was older, so I knew that it was going to take time to learn, and at first, Anki was really fun, until it wasn't. One week I was busy with a bunch of school stuff, and I was really struggling with some classes, so I was focusing on them for the exams coming up. So I missed a day of Anki, and then one day turned into 2, and 2 became 4 until I had almost missed a whole week of doing Anki. I logged back onto Anki and saw the number of reviews that I had to do and panicked. There was no way I could do all those reviews in a day, but I tried, and within an hour I was done. I felt like a mountain had been placed in front of me and I could not climb it. So I deleted Anki and decided that I would come back when I got a little less busy. I didn't realize at the time that life doesn't slow down. It just gets crazier the older you get. So 4 years passed and I finally got back to learning Japanese. So these are the lessons that I learned about giving up, and I hope they help you so you don't give up on something that I'm sure will bring you joy for the rest of your life. Let's start with Anki overload. Now, before I say anything negative, Anki, like most of the methods I'm going to discuss, are really great tools. Anki, or a good SRS, is an important part of learning Japanese, but some people use Anki as their only source of learning. While this can work for some people, for others, myself included, it can be good to help memorize a few words or sentences, but because there's no strong connection to the words that are being studied, in time I just end up forgetting them. Also, recognizing a word in Anki and recognizing a word in context are very different skills. My other problem with Anki is review overload. I'm sure many people have had the same dilemma I was in by missing a day or two of Anki and seeing the reviews that would need to be done, and it can be overwhelming. I know people that have gotten too stressed out from doing Anki that they just gave up and completely restarted their Anki from scratch to review stuff that they probably didn't need to review. So how do we fix this problem? Well, that's easy. Stop using Anki, of course. But seriously, Anki is a great tool for learning, but if it becomes too much of a hassle, the simple fix is to adjust how you're using it. For starters, if you can't connect with words from a pre-made deck, maybe try creating your own deck from shows you've watched or things you've heard while doing immersion. If review overload is a bigger issue for you though, then you can do what I do. I only use Anki for trouble words or grammar that I've looked up a lot and still don't understand. It does take me longer to get through content this way, but for me it keeps my Anki reviews down and keeps me from getting too stressed out about it. Moving on to reason number 2, setting unrealistic expectations. Some people, when they start learning a language, have the crazy idea that they're going to be fluent, or in the case of Japanese, at an N1 level in a year, all because they saw a video or a Reddit post about someone doing it. It's hard as a beginner to realize that these people are the exceptions. They are not the normal average language learner. What they did is impressive, but a new language learner shouldn't always base what they do around these people. Creating an expectation that you'll be just like them if you follow what they did will only lead to frustration as you realize you're not where they're at, and you start to beat yourself up because you feel like you should be better, and sometimes that frustration will cause people to quit. For me, I think this is one of the most common reasons people quit learning a language. Not reaching your goals that you set for yourself can be a real motivation killer. My advice is to stop worrying about long-term goals and comparing yourself to others. You are not them. I would focus on easier short-term goals. The one thing that I always set for myself is to study or immerse myself for more time than I did last week. Sometimes I achieve this goal and sometimes I don't, and that's okay. What's most important is that next week, in the words of Greg Doucette, that I train, or in my case, study harder and longer than last time. In the end, the only person you should compare yourself to is the you from yesterday or last week. Are you better than you were last week or the week before that? If yes, that's all that matters. If you're not, then ask yourself what you need to change and work towards changing it. The last reason in this video is going to be using a source that you don't enjoy using. Learning a language should be a fun experience, but we all have the desire to be better and be better faster. So we'll look up the most popular textbooks or the most popular language learning app that may work for some people, but it might not work for you. You might find the textbook really slow and boring, or you might find the app to be fun but not very helpful. If you're not enjoying the method of learning, it makes quitting a lot easier because you could be thinking to yourself that you could be really using this time for something more fun instead of working through the hassle of learning a language. I think this problem is the easiest one to solve though. The simple solution is that if you're not having fun with a method of learning, you can always change it. You can keep changing it until you find the method that works for you and one that you'll enjoy. There are so many sources for learning. Just a quick search on YouTube, Reddit, or Google will offer you hundreds of different methods, textbooks, and apps that you can experiment with until you find what's right for you. And that's where I'm going to leave things off. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope if you're struggling with any of these problems, this video helped out in some way. Thank you for watching the video, and I'll see you on the next one.